Digestive problems in dogs, such as loose stools, constant gas, diarrhea, or occasional vomiting, are not normal. These signs reveal that something in the diet is wrong. In this video, you will discover how the BARF diet, biologically appropriate natural food, can transform your dog's digestive health, avoiding discomfort, strengthening immunity, and prolonging their longevity. Dog owners often believe that minor signs of digestive discomfort are normal. Occasional gas, soft stools, recurrent diarrhea, or even sporadic vomiting are treated as part of the routine of having a pet. But the truth is that none of this should be accepted as standard. A healthy dog's gastrointestinal tract is able to function stably with consistent stools, balanced energy, and no discomfort. When digestive problems become frequent, the animal's body is sending clear signals that something is wrong. And most of the time, the root of this problem starts exactly in food. For decades, the pet market has spread the idea that industrialized food is the safest and most practical option. Colorful packaging, slogans that promise full health, and campaigns that associate food with love and care ended up shaping the perception of millions of tutors. However, behind this discourse, the reality is quite different. Traditional food, even in so-called premium or super premium versions, is an ultra-processed product, created to have a long shelf life. Its base is composed of carbohydrates of low nutritional value, artificial preservatives, and ingredients that would often not be consumed by a dog in nature. The result of this is a stomach that has to work much harder to break down molecules that were not made for it. Metabolic overload translates into gas, diarrhea, intestinal inflammation, and, in many cases, food allergies that also manifest themselves on the skin and fur. Canine digestive science shows it clearly. Dogs do not have the same need for carbohydrates as humans. Their bodies have evolved to process animal proteins and fats efficiently. The enzyme salivary amylase, which in humans initiates the breakdown of starch already in the mouth, is practically absent in dogs. This means that food rich in grains, corn, wheat, and rice passes through the stomach without proper preparation, fermenting in the intestine and causing gas and malformed stools. When the tutor offers feed, even the most expensive ones, he is forcing the animal's organism to work against its own biology. BARF, biologically appropriate raw food, emerges as a response to this need. Instead of offering an industrialized product, the tutor starts to provide real, fresh, and raw food, formulated to respect the dog's digestive physiology. But it is important to understand the transition is not simply exchanging a bag of food for pieces of meat. There is a secret for BARF to work without causing digestive problems, and that secret lies in understanding both the biology of the animal and the mistakes that most owners make when starting this journey. The most common mistake is to believe that any meat can be offered in any way. Many tutors, excited by the idea of eating more naturally, buy cheap cuts, offer bones without criteria, or even distribute leftovers from the human meal. The result is a dog with loose stools, abdominal pain, vomiting, or constipation. What should be a positive revolution turns into trauma. The owner, without understanding the process, concludes that BARF does not work, or that the animal's body has not adapted. But in practice, it wasn't the diet that failed. It was the way to introduce it. Another frequent mistake is the lack of nutritional balance. BARF is not just meat. If it were, dogs could develop serious disabilities. A meat dish without bones, without organs, without vegetable fibers, and without correct supplementation unbalances the body in a few weeks. The secret to healthy digestion at BARF is in the right ratio: raw, fleshy bones that provide calcium and phosphorus, muscles that bring protein, organs that offer essential vitamins, fiber-specific vegetables and fruits, and antioxidants. The harmony of these elements is what ensures that the digestive system functions without overload. But before talking about formulas, it is necessary to understand how a dog's stomach works. Unlike humans, who have a higher pH and prolonged digestion, the dog's stomach is extremely acidic, reaching levels close to pH 1, capable of dissolving raw bones without difficulty. This acidic environment not only allows raw food to digest, but also acts as a barrier against bacteria. That is, contrary to the fear that many owners have, the dog's stomach is more prepared to deal with raw meat than ours. What really causes digestive problems is not the raw meat itself, but the imbalance between the ingredients, the introduction made abruptly, or the offer of inappropriate foods. Here comes another crucial point: the transition. The tutor, who wants to see his dog free of digestive problems, needs to understand that the animal's body needs time to adapt to the new food. A dog fed for years with kibble has intestinal flora conditioned to process carbohydrates and industrial byproducts. Suddenly, swapping that for pure animal protein can cause diarrhea in the first few weeks. This is not a failure of the diet, but a sign of adaptation. Therefore, the transition must be gradual, respecting steps, starting with lighter proteins, such as chicken or turkey, and evolving to red meat and organs. Haste is the enemy of digestive health. Many problems reported in groups and forums about BARF are the result of the anxiety of tutors to see immediate results. They expect that in 2 days the dog will have perfect stools and renewed energy. The reality is that the body takes time to adjust. During this process, softer stools, gas, and even occasional vomiting may appear. The secret is to recognize that this is part of the adaptation and not give up. The tutor, who understands this point, avoids making the biggest mistake, going back to industrialized food and interrupting the process before the dog's body reaches balance. Another aspect that needs to be reinforced is hydration. The dog that consumes dry food needs to drink a lot of water to compensate for the absence of moisture in the food. At BARF, the meat itself and raw vegetables provide much of the necessary hydration. This decreases the load on the kidneys and improves bowel function. But during the transition, it's critical to monitor water intake. Some dogs may drink less, and the owner needs to ensure that access to fresh water is constant to avoid constipation. There is also an emotional component that should not be ignored. The tutor, when offering BARF, often feels insecure. The fear of causing harm to the animal can lead him to mistakes such as cooking the bones, which makes them dangerous, choosing cuts that are too greasy, or even giving up the process due to external pressure. Society still associates food with safety, and those who opt for the natural often face criticism. The secret to avoiding digestive problems is also the confidence of the owner. Trust based on correct information and professional monitoring, not on random opinions on the internet. Understanding the canine digestive process is the first step to avoiding problems. Knowing that the acidic stomach was made for raw meat, that the short intestine evolved for animal protein, and that excess carbohydrates are invisible enemies helps the owner to make more conscious decisions. The secret of BARF is not just to give meat, but to respect the dog's biology and allow it to work as it was designed. As science advances, new studies reinforce what practice already proves. Dogs fed a balanced natural diet have a lower incidence of chronic diarrhea, colitis, gastritis, and food allergies. But this is only confirmed when the tutor understands that the transition needs to be planned, that the choice of ingredients needs to be judicious, and that patience is part of the process. The secret, deep down, is simple. Respect the dog's nature. And it is exactly this key that opens the way to the next step, learning how to structure BARF in a balanced way, ensuring not only healthy digestion, but also longevity and vitality. Because when the stomach works in harmony, the animal's entire body reflects health. When it comes to BARF, many owners believe that it is enough to put raw meat in the jar and the problem is solved. But the reality is much more complex. The real secret to avoiding digestive disorders lies in the correct structuring of the diet. Without well-defined proportions, the risk of diarrhea, constipation, excessive gas, and even nutritional deficiencies increases exponentially. The dog needs balance, and this is only achieved when each food group fulfills its role within the body. The basis of BARF is formed by 4 fundamental pillars: raw, fleshy bones, muscle meats, offal, and specific vegetables, fruits. Each of these components performs a crucial digestive function, and the absence or excess of any of them can compromise the entire process. Fleshy bones, for example, are not just a source of calcium. They act as natural regulators of feces. Chewing and the presence of calcium balance the consistency, preventing both diarrhea and intestinal dryness. But this only occurs when the choice of bone is correct. A common mistake among beginners is to offer cooked bones or very hard bones, such as those of the bovine fammer. Cooked bones become brittle, forming dangerous splinters that can puncture the digestive tract. Very dense bones, such as large bovine bones, can break teeth and cause severe pain. The ideal is always to offer raw, meaty bones from chicken, turkey, or rabbit, such as neck, wing, back, or rib. They are soft enough not to cause fractures, but tough enough to stimulate chewing and strengthen the jaw and gums. The digestion of these bones, in contact with the dog's stomach acid, is surprisingly efficient. The canine stomach is able to dissolve raw bones within hours, turning them into available nutrients. Muscle meat, on the other hand, is the great source of protein and energy. Here, diversity is key. Only chicken can generate imbalance, just as only beef can overload. Protein rotation ensures not only amino acid variety, but also prevents digestive sensitivities. Meats, such as chicken, turkey, duck, lamb, and beef, should be alternated. The secret to smooth digestion is to always start with the lightest proteins, with fine fibers, and gradually evolve to denser meats. This prevents the intestine, still adapting, from reacting with diarrhea or inconsistent stools. An abrupt introduction to fatty meats, such as pork, can be fatal to adaptation. The viscera form a separate chapter. Many tutors are afraid to offer them due to lack of knowledge or prejudice. However, liver, kidney, and heart are true natural vitamin complexes. The liver, for example, is very rich in vitamin A, essential for vision, skin, and mucous membranes. But here lies another critical point. Excess causes intoxication. When the tutor offers liver in large quantities, the dog may present vomiting, violent diarrhea, and even neurological changes. The golden rule is clear. Viscera should not exceed 10% of the total diet. This proportion ensures that digestion occurs in a stable way, taking advantage of nutrients without overloading the body. Vegetables and fruits come in as a source of fiber, antioxidants, and enzymes. Contrary to what many people think, dogs are not strictly carnivores, but opportunistic carnivores. In nature, when hunting prey, they would also consume part of the animal's stomach contents, rich in partially digested plant matter. This detail is fundamental. Vegetable fibers, when properly crushed or lightly processed, regulate intestinal transit, feed beneficial bacteria in the microbiota, and reduce inflammation. The mistake of many tutors is to offer raw vegetables in large pieces. The dog's stomach is not prepared to break down cellulose in its raw state. This results in feces with pieces of whole vegetables without nutritional use. To avoid this, vegetables should be crushed, beaten, or lightly steamed, preserving nutrients but facilitating digestion. Pumpkin, carrots, broccoli, spinach, and zucchini are examples of safe and beneficial choices. In the case of fruits, seedless apples, pears, melons, and blueberries offer antioxidants and light fiber. There is also the issue of fat. Often overlooked, fat is the main source of energy for dogs. Unlike humans who rely on carbohydrates, dogs metabolize fat extremely efficiently. But that doesn't mean that all fat is welcome. Excess saturated fat, for example, can cause pancreatitis, a severe and painful inflammation. The attentive tutor should offer lean cuts as a base, complementing in a balanced way with natural sources of fatty acids, such as chicken skin in small quantities and quality oils, such as fish oil. Omega-3, present in fish, such as sardines and salmon, is a natural regulator of digestion and inflammation, in addition to improving the absorption of nutrients in the intestine. Another crucial point to prevent digestive problems is the order in which food is introduced. A classic mistake is to try to offer everything at the same time without respecting the body's adaptive capacity. The best strategy is progression. First, fleshy bones of easy digestion and light meats. Then viscera in small doses. Only then introduce vegetables and fruits. This step-by-step reduces the chance of overload and allows the intestinal flora to reorganize itself in a healthy way. Tutors who skip steps end up facing persistent diarrhea, gas, and even food rejection. In this context, the gut flora plays a central role. The intestine is inhabited by trillions of bacteria, responsible for processing nutrients, synthesizing vitamins, and protecting against harmful agents. When the dog is fed ultra-processed food for years, the microbiota adapts to this poor pattern and diversity. By suddenly changing to BARF, this ecosystem needs to rebuild itself. Therefore, in addition to introducing food gradually, it can be extremely useful to resort to probiotics specific for dogs. They speed up the adaptation process, reduce gas, and stabilize stool. Water kefir, or formulated veterinary probiotics, are excellent allies in this process. A tutor who understands the importance of order, proportion, and diversity can get through the transition phase with much less problems. But it must be stressed, patience is the key. The canine body needs weeks, sometimes months, to reach full balance. During this time, it is normal for stools to vary in color and consistency. It is the sign that the body is learning to deal with alive, real food, different from the static, ultra-processed food. And this variation should not be confused with failure. On the contrary, it is proof that the body is adjusting. The secret to avoiding digestive problems using BARF does not lie in miracle tricks. It is about respecting the dog's biology, providing correct ingredients, balancing nutrients, and above all, giving the body time to rebalance. By following this path, the tutor not only solves diarrhea and gas issues, but also transforms the animal's general health. The fur is brighter, the skin less irritated, the energy more stable, and most importantly, the dog gains quality of life, longevity, and a digestion that works as it should, in harmony with its nature. The process of adapting a dog to BARF does not depend only on the main foods. The key to stable digestion and a trauma-free transition also lies in the invisible details, the ones that, when ignored, cause the biggest problems. Among them are natural supplements, probiotics, and the tutor's ability to interpret the clinical signals that the animal's body sends. The difference between success and failure in BARF is usually precisely in this attentive look. Supplementation is an often overlooked point. Many tutors, when starting BARF, believe that meat, bones, offal, and vegetables are enough, but nature is more complex than that. In the wild, dogs obtain nutrients from a variety of sources, not only from the flesh and bones of their prey, but also from organs that rarely make it into the domestic dish, such as glands, skin, blood, and marrow. When trying to recreate this diet, the modern tutor needs to fill in gaps with specific supplements. Skipping this step leads to digestive and metabolic problems in the medium term. The first essential supplement is omega-3 fatty acids. They play a fundamental anti-inflammatory role in the intestine. The imbalance between omega-6, present in most commercial meats, and omega-3 is responsible for inflammatory processes that are reflected in recurrent diarrhea, persistent gas, and smelly stools. By adding quality fish oil or even fresh sardines to the diet, the tutor favors the absorption of nutrients and protects the intestinal lining. It is important to note that poor quality fat, such as fatty meat scraps or reused cooking oil, not only does not bring benefits but can cause pancreatitis and liver poisoning. Therefore, quality and correct dose are crucial. Another indispensable supplement is zinc, a mineral involved in more than 300 enzymatic reactions, many of them related to digestion and the immune system. Zinc deficiency in dogs that consume poorly formulated BARF manifests itself in loose stools, difficulty healing, and hair loss. Natural sources such as pumpkin seeds can contribute, but controlled supplementation is often necessary to balance the diet. Calcium and phosphorus, already provided in large part by raw, fleshy bones, also deserve attention. A serious mistake is to completely remove bones from the diet for fear of accidents. Without them, the calcium-phosphorus ratio becomes unbalanced, leading to pasty feces, rickets in puppies, and bone wear in adults. On the other hand, excess bones generate constipation and whitish stools. Moderation and correct calculation ensure that the intestine maintains its natural rhythm. But perhaps the most transformative point in dog digestion is the introduction of probiotics. The gut is home to trillions of bacteria that act as a living community, responsible not only for digestion, but also for immunity and even behavior. Studies show that dogs with balanced gut flora have fewer episodes of diarrhea, greater resistance to infections, and even fewer signs of anxiety. However, when migrating to BARF, this community needs to be rebuilt. Probiotics, such as lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, help repopulate the gut with beneficial bacteria, speeding up adaptation and reducing digestive discomforts. In addition to probiotics, prebiotics play a complementary role. While probiotics are the live bacteria, prebiotics are the fibers that feed these bacteria. Vegetables such as pumpkin, chicory, and sweet potatoes provide soluble fiber that serves as food for the microbiota, promoting a healthy gut environment. When the owner and veterinarian structure this balance together, the digestive problems common during the transition practically disappear. Still, no supplement is a substitute for careful observation. The tutor must learn to interpret the signals that the dog's body provides on a daily basis. The consistency of the stool is the most immediate thermometer. Firm, moist, and well-formed stools indicate efficient digestion. Dry, crumbly stools reveal excess bone. Very soft or liquid stools signal excess viscera, poorly calibrated fat, or ongoing adaptation. Color changes are also clues. Very dark stools can indicate excess liver. Too clear, excess calcium. Another important sign is breath. An adapting dog may have stronger breath in the first few days, but if this symptom persists, it is an indication that the intestinal flora is not yet balanced. Excess gas is also a clear marker of improper fermentation, often related to the abrupt introduction of poorly prepared raw vegetables. The solution is to adjust the way of preparation. Grind, steam lightly, or vary the vegetable source until you find the ideal combination. Appetite is another indicator. A dog that persistently refuses food may be suffering from abdominal pain or gastric discomfort. Punctual refusal is part of the adaptation process, but when it becomes frequent, it is a sign that something needs to be reviewed. The informed tutor does not force, does not insist blindly, but observes, registers, and adjusts. This is where the importance of professional monitoring comes in. BARF, when done under the guidance of a veterinary nutritionist, drastically reduces the risks. The professional can evaluate not only the ingredients, but also the dog's overall health, its specific conditions, and potential limitations. Many cases of digestive problems attributed to BARF are nothing more than human failures in the homemade formulation. When well planned, BARF not only solves intestinal problems, but also prevents long-term diseases, including pancreatitis, chronic colitis, and even metabolic imbalances that could develop into diabetes. Another fatal mistake in the choice of ingredients is the use of forbidden foods. Onions, excess garlic, grapes, chocolate, avocados, and ultra-seasoned foods are toxic to dogs. Some tutors, in an attempt to vary their diet, end up making mistakes that result in serious intoxication. The tutor who really wants to protect his pet's digestive system needs to be absolutely clear about what can and cannot be offered. The secret, therefore, lies in the combination of science and observation. Science to ensure the right proportions, supplements, and nutrients. Observation to interpret the daily signals of the body. When these two forces work together, digestion ceases to be a concern and becomes a reflection of full health. The dog starts to have consistent stools, a regulated appetite, balanced energy, and a strengthened immune system. And it is exactly at this point that the tutor discovers the true differential of BARF. It is not just about food. It's about understanding that the animal's body speaks every day, and that every feces, every breath, and every breath carries precious information about its well-being. Eating correctly is not just about giving food, but translating these signals into conscious choices. As the tutor learns to read this invisible code, he realizes that digestive problems are not inevitable obstacles, but warning messages. Messages that, when met with knowledge, transform the dog's health from the inside out. The secret to avoiding digestive problems with BARF lies not in magic formulas, but in discipline, patience, and love based on information. With this, the path to the next level is opened. Understanding how digestive health directly impacts the longevity of the dog. Because by balancing the intestinal flora and avoiding recurring problems, the tutor not only improves the gift, but extends the years of life alongside his partner. Digestion is much more than a process of transforming food into energy. It is the silent heart of health. When it works well, the whole organism responds in harmony. When it fails, the signals spread in a cascade, reaching skin, fur, behavior, and even life expectancy. BARF, when well structured, not only prevents digestive issues, but also builds a solid foundation for immunity and longevity. It is at this point that many tutors realize that dietary change goes far beyond the elimination of gas or diarrhea. It is about radically transforming the quality of life of the dog. The gut houses about 70% of the body's immune cells. The statistic, already proven by scientific studies, explains why dogs with chronic diarrhea problems or unstable stools are also more prone to allergies, skin infections, and respiratory diseases. When the intestinal barrier is constantly assaulted by hard-to-digest carbohydrates and artificial preservatives, it becomes permeable, allowing toxins and poorly digested food particles to enter the bloodstream. This generates silent systemic inflammation that, over time, manifests itself in serious diseases. By offering BARF, the tutor restores this barrier. Fresh, raw, and balanced food strengthens the intestinal mucosa and feeds beneficial bacteria, creating a natural defense against pathogens. The result is a dog that gets sick less and recovers faster. The skin and fur are visible reflections of this process. A dog that previously had a dull coat, excessive shedding, and constant itching starts, in a few weeks of natural diet, to exhibit shine, softness, and reduction of dermatitis. These signs are clear indicators that the body has stopped fighting digestive inflammation and has started to redirect energy to vital functions. Balanced digestion frees up resources that were previously wasted on fighting toxins and artificial ingredients. It is as if the body breathes a sigh of relief and starts to bloom in each cell. The dog's energy also transforms. Owners often report that animals fed BARF are more willing to play, walk, and exercise, but without the nervous agitation common in dogs that consume carbohydrate-rich food. This is because energy from protein and fat is released steadily and steadily, avoiding the typical peaks and crashes of grain-based diets. The canine metabolism has been shaped to operate in this balance, and when it returns to it, vitality is regained in its purest form. Longevity is perhaps the most powerful benefit of BARF. Dogs that maintain a healthy digestive tract have a lower risk of developing chronic diseases that reduce life expectancy. Recurrent colitis, pancreatitis, kidney failure, and even certain cancers are directly related to chronic intestinal inflammation and ultra-processed diets. By avoiding digestive problems in the present, the owner is also protecting the future. A stable digestive system means less oxidative stress, less liver overload, and a sharper immunity to face the years to come. But longevity is not only measured in number of years. It is measured in quality of life. The dog that does not suffer from abdominal pain, gas, or recurrent diarrhea lives fully. He runs without discomfort, rests with deep sleep, and looks at his tutor with eyes full of vitality. This transformation is perceived not only by the animal, but also by the bond between tutor and dog. Feeding with BARF becomes a form of mindful care, a silent language of love that is expressed at every meal. The tutor, who understands this, realizes that the secret is not only to avoid digestive problems, but to create a cycle of health that renews itself daily. Of course, the journey requires responsibility. The tutor needs to be informed, plan, and closely monitor each signal that the dog's body transmits. But this investment of time and dedication is rewarded exponentially. Seeing a dog that once suffered from unstable stools now exhibit perfect regularity. Watching a coat that once fell out in clumps become shiny and firm, noticing the steady energy and the keen eye. All of this reinforces that the effort was worth it. The tutor stops reacting to diseases and starts preventing, building a path of lasting well-being. The final secret to avoiding digestive problems with BARF is to understand that it is not a fad or a magic recipe, but rather a return to the dog's biological roots. It is respecting the evolutionary history of the animal, which was never born to feed on processed grains and artificial colors. It is giving back to the body what it knows how to digest perfectly: real, fresh, raw, and balanced foods. When this is done with patience and knowledge, digestion becomes so stable that the old problems seem far away. The dog lives longer, lives better, and the tutor has the peace of mind of knowing that he offered not only food, but health. And when we look to the future, this choice gains even more weight. Dogs fed in a natural way become companions that accompany their owners for longer, aging with dignity, maintaining mobility, energy, and joy. Avoiding digestive problems is just the gateway to that healthier future. The real reward is every extra year of shared life, every moment of preserved vitality, every look that reflects quiet gratitude. In the end, the secret is not to hide complex formulas. It is in 3 simple words: respect for nature, respect for the dog's biology, its history, and the bond that unites us to them. When the tutor internalizes this truth, there is no room for doubt. BARF is no longer just a diet and becomes a commitment to full health. And in this commitment, digestive problems have no place.